My brother called me his secretary while firing me in front of 200 guests. 20 minutes later, the bank's regional president walked onto the stage and froze our $6 million expansion loan. Mason laughed nervously. There must be some mistake. The banker looked directly at him. The mistake was removing the woman whose house signature and personal guarantee are keeping this company financed. By midnight, every construction payment had been suspended. By morning, our suppliers had frozen 3 credit accounts. My brother called me 17 times. His final message said, "Leah, tell the bank you still work for us." I looked at the cardboard box containing my belongings. Then I answered, "You told everyone I was only a secretary. Let's see how far the company gets on your job description. My name is Leah Calder." I was 36 years old when my family discovered the difference between organizing paperwork and carrying the legal risk behind it. Calder Marine Works operated from a 40-acre waterfront yard outside Annapolis, Maryland. We repaired commercial vessels, restored antique sailboats, built custom luxury yachts, and stored nearly 200 boats every winter. My grandfather started the company with a wooden shed and a borrowed crane. My father, Robert Calder, expanded it into one of the largest independent marine facilities on the Chesapeake Bay. Dad understood boats. He could listen to an engine for 10 seconds and identify a failing bearing. He could also ignore a financial statement for 6 months if the first page made him uncomfortable. My older brother Mason became chief executive when Dad stepped back from daily operations. Mason was 41, handsome, loud, and excellent in front of customers. He wore expensive work boots that never touched oil. He could stand beside a half-finished yacht and convince its owner that delays were evidence of craftsmanship. His wife Brooke handled marketing and events. Brooke knew how to turn every company problem into a story about family sacrifice. If a customer complained about a missed deadline, she posted photographs of exhausted workers. If an employee questioned payroll, she wrote about loyalty. If I raised a financial issue, she asked why I wanted to humiliate Mason. My cousin Evan Price served as controller. Evan spoke quietly and carried a calculator everywhere. People assumed that meant he was careful. It mostly meant he knew exactly how much money was missing. Owen Marsh managed the repair yard. He had worked for Calder Marine since he was 19. Owen was honest, practical, and afraid of losing the only job he had ever known. Then there was me. My official title was corporate secretary and risk director. I handled board records, insurance, lender reports, environmental permits, customer deposits, major contracts, and every document Mason called administrative clutter. 6 years earlier, an electrical fire destroyed our paint building. No one died, but 3 boats were damaged, and the insurer refused to cover several losses because Dad had allowed the policy to lapse for 12 days during a broker change. The company owed suppliers almost $2 million. The bank was prepared to seize the Travel Lift dry storage buildings and part of the waterfront. My mother had died the previous year and left me a brick townhome in Baltimore. I rented the upper floors and lived in a small apartment downstairs. It was the only property in our family not already pledged to a lender. Dad asked me to use it as collateral. I refused twice. The third time, he brought Mason. Mason sat across from me in the kitchen. "If the yard closes, 120 people lose their jobs. You should have maintained the insurance." Dad made a mistake, a very expensive one. "We're not asking you to pay the debt. You're asking me to secure it. Temporarily." That word should be illegal in family business conversations. The proposed loan was $6.2 million. My townhome would support the personal guarantee until the company reduced the balance below $4 million. The board also granted me 20% ownership and appointed me lender-designated risk director. The loan required my approval for major asset sales, related party contracts, construction draws, and changes to my position. Dad signed, Mason signed, Evan notarized the minutes. My mother's house saved the company. The public version sounded different. Mason told customers he had negotiated the rescue. Brooke produced a video called Calder Strong. It showed Dad standing beside the burned building, Mason shaking hands with the banker, workers returning to the yard. I appeared, once seated at a conference table. The caption said, "Leah Calder, Administrative Support." I did not complain. That was my first mistake. The first serious conflict began with an invoice for $142,000. Mason was building a new waterfront showroom called the Calder Signature Pavilion. It would include design studios, a cocktail lounge, and a glass-walled yacht gallery. The invoice came from a company called Harborlight Brand Partners. The description said, "Premium Customer Positioning, Luxury Narrative Development, Founder Legacy Strategy." There was no contract attached. I searched the state business registry. Harborlight belonged to Brooke's younger sister, Madison. I carried the invoice into Mason's office. He was choosing leather samples with Brooke. "What did Harborlight provide?" I asked. Brooke looked at the invoice. Brand strategy. What was delivered? The new customer experience, which means, she waved toward the leather samples, everything people feel when they enter. "I need something more specific than feelings." Mason leaned back. "Why?" "Because Madison's company is related to management. She's Brooke's sister, not mine. You are married to Brooke. That doesn't make every contract a federal case. The bank requires disclosure." Brooke's expression softened. "Leah Madison spent months helping us. Then she should have records. She attended meetings. For $142,000? You don't understand creative work." "I understand 6 figures. Mason stood. "Approve it." "No." His smile disappeared. "What did you say?" "I need a contract, work records, and lender disclosure." "You're the secretary. I'm also the person certifying the draw. You organize the documents. You don't decide the vision. The loan says otherwise." Brooke's eyes filled. "You enjoy holding that over us." "I enjoy not losing my house because your sister attended meetings." She walked out crying. Mason followed her to the door, then turned back. "You embarrassed my wife. We were alone. You accused her family of stealing. I asked for documentation. It is always documentation with you." "Yes, because money leaves through documents." The next morning, Brooke posted a company message. "Creative work on the Signature Pavilion has been delayed by an internal administrative review." Employees began joking that they needed my permission to sharpen pencils. Someone taped a paper sign to my office door, "Secretary of No." Owen removed it before lunch. "Who did that?" I asked. He looked away. "You know who. Mason, no." Someone who knew Mason would laugh. 3 days later, Harborlight submitted a contract dated 4 months earlier. The document metadata showed it had been created that morning. It listed videos, market research, customer interviews, and a full advertising campaign. None existed. Then the bank sent me a notification. The draw had already been submitted. My electronic approval appeared at the bottom. I had not signed it. I called Celeste Warren, the regional president at Bay Atlantic Bank. "Did you receive a pavilion draw?" "Yes, my approval is false." She paused. "Do not confront anyone yet. Why I need the original upload preserved." 20 minutes later, Evan entered my office. "You called Celeste. My signature was used. It was a scanned approval. I rejected the payment. Mason approved it." "Mason cannot approve related party draws alone." Evan closed the door. "The pavilion contractors need money. Then Mason should not send $142,000 to his sister-in-law. It's already done. What Harborlight was paid from operating cash. The draw replaces it. So you used my signature to replenish company cash." He lowered his voice. "If the bank freezes, construction workers lose hours." "Who copied my signature?" He said nothing. Mason entered. He looked at Evan. "Leave." When we were alone, Mason placed both hands on my desk. Tell Celeste you forgot approving it. I did not approve it. Tell her there was confusion. There wasn't. Nobody stole anything. Then why forge my signature? That word is unnecessary. What word do you prefer? Shortcut. I stared at him. You risked my property for a shortcut? You always make this about your house. Because you made my house part of the loan. His face hardened. You received equity. Equity you never mention. You did not build this yard. No, I only stopped the bank from taking it. Mason stepped back. There, that's what you've wanted to say for 6 years. No, that's what I've spent 6 years trying not to say. The bank rejected the disputed draw and demanded an internal review. Mason told staff I had caused a funding delay. Brooke posted a photograph of Madison in the unfinished pavilion. Some people build dreams, others request another form. The second battle began with a charity sailing event. Calder Marine sponsored an annual regatta for wounded veterans. Brooke invited local media, politicians, and major customers. The night before the event, I reviewed the insurance certificate for a charter vessel carrying 30 guests. The vessel had no active passenger coverage. Its captain's commercial credential had expired. I called Brooke. The charter boat cannot leave the dock tomorrow. She laughed. That isn't funny. I'm not joking. The captain has worked with us for years. His credential expired. He renewed it, not according to the Coast Guard database. Mason approved him. Mason does not issue captain's licenses. Her voice changed. There will be veterans waiting. Then we need another boat. It's too late. Cancel the passenger portion. You want me to tell wounded veterans the secretary canceled their event? I want you to tell them the vessel is not insured. She ended the call. At 8 the next morning, she started a live stream from the dock. Behind her, veterans and families waited near the boats. Her eyes were wet. Sadly, one member of management has refused to allow our guests onto the main vessel because of a paperwork concern. The camera turned toward me. People stared. Mason walked across the dock. Release the boat. No. The captain has proof. Show it. He left it at home. Then he does not leave the dock. A reporter moved closer. Is this a safety issue? Brooke answered before I could. It is a disagreement about administrative interpretation. I looked at the reporter. The vessel lacks active passenger insurance, and the captain's credential is expired. Mason whispered, You're destroying us. No, I'm keeping 30 people off an uninsured boat. We found 2 smaller charter boats and delayed the departure by 90 minutes. The event continued. Brooke posted that Mason had rescued the day after an unnecessary internal disruption. That afternoon, the original charter captain attempted to move his vessel to another marina. The Coast Guard stopped him. His credential had been expired for 5 months. The inspection also found a damaged exhaust system that could have exposed passengers to carbon monoxide. Mason never apologized. Instead, Dad called me. You were right. Then say it publicly. That will embarrass Brooke. She embarrassed me publicly. Family should not keep score. Only the person losing is told that. The third battle involved customer deposits. Calder Marine had begun taking orders for a new 48-foot luxury yacht called the Calder Meridian. Mason announced 18 confirmed buyers. Each buyer supposedly paid a $100,000 deposit. Those deposits helped us qualify for the final $1.5 million construction draw. The number looked wrong. We had only 6 hulls under production. I asked Owen, how many Meridian buyers have visited the yard? 5. How many signed specifications? 5. Mason says 18. Owen looked toward the office. I'm not supposed to talk about sales. Since when? Since you started asking about Harbor Light. I checked the deposit ledger. 13 payments came from Chesapeake Client Holdings. The company belonged to Evan. The deposits had been funded by Calder Marine itself. Money left the operating account, passed through Evan's company, and returned as fake customer deposits. The bank saw 18 buyers. In reality, there were 5. I confronted Evan after hours. You created fake deposits. They're reservation positions. Who are the customers? Future buyers. That means nobody. He stood. You don't understand pre-production demand. I understand company money returning under a different name. Mason has commitments, written, verbal. The bank funded $1.5 million based on those deposits. The buyers will come. You are hoping reality catches up before the bank notices. He looked tired. Do you want the Meridian project to fail? No. Then give us time. How much? 6 months. The loan report is due Friday. He leaned forward. Delay it. I can't. You can do anything when it benefits you. What does that mean? You delayed reporting after the fire. I negotiated a formal extension. You protected the family then, and you want me to lie now. He lowered his voice. Mason is negotiating a sale. My stomach tightened. What sale? Evan looked as if he regretted speaking. Forget it. I did not. I searched our secure files and found a draft agreement. Mason planned to sell 70% of Calder Marine Works to Atlantic Crest Capital for $28 million. The buyer would receive the waterfront property, customer list, equipment, and brand. The loan would remain in place for up to a year. My townhome would remain collateral until the bank approved replacement security. The ownership schedule listed Dad, Mason, and Brooke. My 20% did not appear. I carried the sale agreement into Dad's office. He closed the door. Where did you get this? The lender folder. It's preliminary. You planned to sell the company without my ownership. We planned to compensate you. How much? We had not decided. You decided Mason's amount. He runs the company. My house guarantees it. Dad looked toward the window. The buyer wants simple leadership. So you removed me from the ownership schedule. It can be corrected later, after my collateral supports their purchase. You would be protected. By whom? He said nothing. I placed my original board certificate on the desk. Mom insisted I receive 20%. Dad's face softened. Your mother wanted peace. No, she wanted me protected. She would not want you to destroy the sale. I didn't create fake customers. Dad's expression hardened again. Everything becomes a threat with you. Because every promise becomes temporary when Mason wants something. He stood. Do not contact the buyer. I won't. Or the bank. The bank already received the deposit report. Then certify it. No. Dad stared at me for a long time. You are choosing paperwork over your family. No, I am refusing to sacrifice my house so Mason can sell what he pretends I don't own. The launch gala for the Calder Meridian occurred 2 weeks later. Mason invited customers, employees, investors, politicians, and the bank. A finished yacht sat beneath lights inside the main assembly building. Brooke had created a presentation about the Calder legacy. Dad appeared as the founder. Mason appeared as the visionary. Brooke appeared as the brand builder. Evan appeared as financial strategist. I appeared for 3 seconds, carrying a binder. The caption said, Leah Calder, Corporate Secretary. After the video, Mason took the microphone. He thanked everyone. Then he smiled toward me. And of course, every family business needs someone to organize the papers. People laughed. He held up a silver desk set engraved with my name. Leah, come accept your promotion gift. I walked onto the stage. The engraving read, Calder Marine's favorite secretary. Brooke hugged me and whispered, smile. Mason handed me the microphone. Say something. I looked at Celeste Warren, seated at the bank's table. Then at Dad. Am I still risk director? Mason's smile weakened. This is a celebration. It is also an employment announcement. He laughed. Leah, don't do this. Am I still responsible for lender reporting? No. Construction draws? No. Insurance approvals? No. Asset sales? He paused, then said, no. Do you want me removed completely? Brooke stepped forward. You've made your point. I'm asking Mason. He looked toward the crowd. Completely. I nodded. All right. Celeste stood. Mason, did the bank approve this change? The room became silent. He frowned. This is an internal matter. No. Leah Calder is the lender-designated risk officer and personal guarantor. People began whispering. Mason laughed nervously. She is our secretary. Celeste walked toward the stage. Her townhome secures part of your credit facility. Her authenticated approvals support every major draw. Her consent is required before she can be removed. Dad stepped forward. We can resolve this tomorrow. Celeste shook her head. The bank also identified irregular customer deposits and 2 approvals submitted without Leah's portal authentication. Evan turned pale. Mason looked at me. You called her. I didn't. Celeste answered. Our fraud controls did. Brooke began crying. This is a family celebration. Celeste looked at her. The bank is freezing undisbursed funds until we determine whether the company's reports are accurate. The room erupted. Mason grabbed my wrist. You planned this. I looked at his hand. He let go. You wanted to humiliate me. No, you gave me the microphone. Security escorted me from the building anyway. Brooke live-streamed from the parking lot 30 minutes later. She claimed I had sabotaged the launch after being demoted. Mason reported me to police for stealing confidential records. Dad's attorney accused me of extortion and interference with the sale. Evan claimed I had known about the customer deposits. For 3 days, social media called me a jealous sister. Then, the bank filed for a court-supervised review. The hearing exposed everything. Harbor Light's backdated contract, Madison's unsupported fees, my copied approval, the false insurance certificate, the fake Meridian customers, the company-funded deposits, the secret sale, the missing ownership interest. Owen testified that only 5 real buyers existed. The insurance broker confirmed the charter vessel was uninsured. The bank's data specialist proved my signatures had been pasted onto documents from Evan's computer. Then Celeste explained the loan. Would the bank have approved the restructuring without Leah Calder's collateral, my attorney asked. No. Would the company have survived the fire without that loan? Unlikely. Could Mason Calder remove her without lender approval? No. Mason's attorney stood. She handled paperwork. Celeste looked at him. The loan is paperwork. The courtroom became completely silent. My attorney introduced the original board meeting recording. My mother's voice filled the room. Leah is not risking her home to become Mason's assistant. She receives 20% ownership and the authority to stop this family when ambition becomes more expensive than honesty. Mason's voice answered, I understand. Dad's voice followed. We all understand. Neither man looked at me. The final evidence came from Evan. Facing possible fraud charges, he cooperated. He produced messages from Mason. One said, keep calling Leah the secretary. The buyer cannot think she has control. Another said, once the sale closes, we can replace her collateral later. Brooke had replied, make the joke public. If she complains afterward, it will look like revenge. The desk set had never been a harmless gift. It was part of the plan to reduce my role before removing my ownership. The court placed Calder Marine under temporary financial supervision. Mason was removed as chief executive. Evan pleaded guilty to falsifying lender documents and received probation after cooperating. Harbor Light returned part of its fees. Brooke lost her marketing position and faced civil claims over undisclosed related party payments. Dad resigned as chairman. The private equity sale collapsed. Calder Marine did not close. An independent operator sold unused land, canceled the pavilion, and reduced the loan enough to release my townhome. Owen became yard manager. Employees kept their jobs. The Meridian project continued with real customers and verified deposits. I retained my 20% ownership, but left daily management. 6 months later, I opened a marine risk consulting firm in Baltimore. I helped boatyards review insurance, financing customer deposits, and major contracts. Behind my desk, I placed the silver gift Mason had given me, Calder Marine's favorite secretary. Beneath it, I added another plate, personal guarantor, $6.2 million. Dad visited once. He stared at the 2 plates. You kept that? Yes, it was meant as a joke. No, it was meant to make me smaller. He sat across from me. Mason says you enjoyed watching him lose the company. He didn't lose it. He lost control. That is not the same thing. Dad looked toward the window. I should have told people what you did after the fire. Yes. I thought it would make Mason look weak. So you made me invisible. He nodded slowly. For once, he did not argue. Mason contacted me nearly a year later. His message said, "The bank treated you like you mattered more than everyone else." I replied, "The bank treated me like the person who signed." He did not answer for 3 weeks. Then he wrote, "I knew Mom gave you 20%. I thought it was symbolic." I answered, "So was your title once." He never apologized completely. Some people cannot apologize without protecting the version of themselves that caused the harm. I stopped waiting. My brother called me a secretary because he believed paperwork was what happened after real decisions were made. The bank knew better. A signature can open a credit line. A guarantee can place someone's home behind another person's dream. A customer deposit can be real or invented. An insurance certificate can protect a company or expose a lie. Paper does not make decisions unimportant. Paper proves who must pay for them. Mason called me the secretary. The bank called me the guarantor. And when every lie reached the courtroom, the documents called me the owner he had tried to erase. That was the lesson my family learned too late. People may laugh at the person holding the paperwork until they discover the paperwork is holding everything else.